Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Voyager Season 4, Episode 16, Prey, which is almost like a direct connection to the last episode, which is Hunters. So we got Hunters and then Prey. And it is kind of a continuation. It's more of the Hirogens and kind of continuing with that storyline. Although, like, none of the direct characters continue on, which is why it's not a two-parter. Although it kind of could have been if they really wanted to. So this introduces a new Hirogen, played by the amazing Tony Todd, fantastic actor, everything from like Final Destination to Candyman to anything you can think of, which is especially amazing because he played Kern, the brother of Worf, in both The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. He also played future Jake Sisko in Deep Space Nine, and so now this is his third character in the Star Trek franchise in Voyager now, so I think that was pretty cool. So we realize that this group of Hirogens are actually hunting species 8472, which, let me stop right there and say again, it bothers me that Voyager or nobody has given this species a name. They just adapted to the Borg name for the species, which is actually kind of ironic. But, I don't know, it just kind of bothers me that even the Hirogens don't have a name for it. So Voyager is like, oh, it's species 8472. And I don't know, that's always kind of bugged me. So while Voyager's kind of dealing with the Tony Todd character, we see the Doctor with Seven and how he actually kind of relates to her. And he even says, like, you're kind of like me when I was first activated, because she has no personality. She doesn't care about small talk. She doesn't care about anything like that. She just kind of wants to get to the end and do her thing. She wants to be like the most efficient. She's almost kind of like the Vulcan, which is why we see Seven and Tuvok together so much, which makes sense. So after Voyager gets with the Hirogen ship and they bring Tony Todd's character on board, Voyager starts to kind of pull away, and we see a species 8472 crawling on the Voyager hull. It's a great shot to just kind of watch it crawling up there, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, you can't help but get super excited. And it's interesting. Throughout the rest of the episode, it kind of plays almost textbook Star Trek, where, of course, Tony Todd wants to go after the species and he's hunting it, and more of the Hirogen ships start, like, converging on Voyager, and they're like, okay, you need to give us our man back, and you need to give us our prey back. And Janeway's like, you can have your man, but this alien just wants to go home. Like, that's all it wants. It doesn't want to fight anymore. It doesn't want to do anything. It just wants to go home. And of course, the Hirogens are like, no, we want both or nothing. So they're attacking Voyager. So by the time we get to the end, Seven actually, like, commandeers the controls and beams the Hirogen and species 8472 onto one of the Hirogen ships. And as soon as they get it, they all break off and they go away. And Janeway is like, this is inexcusable. Like, you cannot do this, because I told you not to. And it's kind of the start of a story arc where we see Seven having a lot of resisting to Janeway's command. And, like, Janeway has said, like, I'm tired of having this conversation. Like, every time I tell you to do something, you don't do it, and you go against my orders. I can't just throw you in the brig, which is something she's kind of talked about before. I think it was with B'Elanna, where she's like, I can't just throw you in the brig. Like, we have a limited amount of resources, and we need people to work on this ship. But she's like, I'm going to take away all of your privileges. Like, you're basically just going to be in the cargo bay or where I assign you. And Seven has some great retorts to her argument where she's like, you're telling me to be an individual, but when I want to be an individual, you punish me. And Janeway's like, there's a difference between being an individual and being in Starfleet, which is actually kind of some of the problems that I have with the military and stuff like that, because Seven has a lot of really good points where Janeway wants her to be an individual, but yet there's still a hierarchy. So being part of the Borg collective is bad, but being part of the Federation collective is okay. And it really brings up some of these really hard questions, like, how do you know what's good and what's bad? It's kind of the age-old writing technique is the villain doesn't know that they're the villain. And to the Borg, they're not a villain. They're just looking to be a perfect species, and they're adapting. To Starfleet, they're bad because they're killing people and they're forcing them against their will. And Seven is kind of seeing that from Janeway, where Janeway's like, no, I'm the captain, you have to obey me. And Seven's like, okay, so I was in the Borg, and I had to obey the Borg Queen, so what's the difference? Personally, I think it's a great argument. Like, I'm totally with Seven on this point, and I think it does bring up some really good questions that we kind of answer on as Seven grows into her humanity. So for those who have seen this one, what did you think about Tony Todd? What did you think about Species 8472? What did you think about Seven questioning her individuality? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for those who have subscribed and given me a like. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time for Retrospect.